Hi, this is Elizabeth Lay, and this is my video on whether or not I am for or against reparations. I am definitely for reparations. Let's start by talking about what reparations are. So according to dictionary.com, reparations are the making of amends for a wrong or injury done. If a government wrongfully harms someone as a result of unauthorized actions, then it incurs a moral obligation to compensate its victims. The U.S. government, in my opinion, wrongly harmed generations of African Americans by supporting slavery and its aftermath. These acts continue to cause harm to African American society today. Therefore, the U.S. government is morally obligated to pay reparations for slavery. I'm going to start by reading an email. I tried to get a personal interview, but I'm just a busy man. So this is one of my mentors. His name is Omowale Sababu, and this is his email in regards to my questions about reparations. Reparations are a core issue in relation to social justice and redemption for African peoples. In fact, all victims of genocide and Holocaust have the right through the Universal Declaration of Human Rights to seek reparations. Japan, Israel, and Libya have secured reparations, so this is not an unprecedented issue. Due to the immense destruction and exploitation of the African continent and African people, the powers of Babylon have avoided the issue of reparations to Africa and Africans because it would then address the core issue of how the modern Western capitalist powers became wealthy, which of course is through the genocidal Holocaust of the transatlantic slave trade. Tragically, nations such as Haiti and the English-speaking Caribbean nations such as Jamaica were forced to compensate France, Britain, and the actual plantation owners more than $300 billion for the ending of slavery. So the down-pressed had to compensate the down-pressers. Great resources for your project are Walter Rodney, How Europe Underdeveloped Africa, and Chancellor Williams, Destruction of Black Civilization. You and I will reason some more during our new cycle of victory. Nyabengi Jagaid Amawe Sababu. So, according to Chancellor Williams, in keeping with his recommendation, black people were told that they were from a land of savagery and cannibalism. Only by the grace of God and the white man were black people able to escape the horrors of Africa. As we learned in our first few chapters, we know that Africa is anything but. We know that Africa is the father of history and the mother of civilization. In fact, if Africa was such a savage continent and of little use to the world, why has Babylon consistently raped and exploited the people and the resources there? This is the beginning of the damage caused by white supremacist attitude, which had to be employed in order to justify the horrors of the transatlantic slave trade. Black people had their names and language changed forcibly. They had their spiritual beliefs taken away, disallowed, and bastardized. They were denied access to education of any kind for years. Even when education was allowed, it was miseducation. And black people for many years were unaware that they even had a history, much less one to be proud of. Chancellor Williams said that too. The black man has been emasculated in so many ways, including his inability to protect his wife and family, the terrorism perpetrated by the police department and the Ku Klux Klan. The stability of the family was destroyed, but I think the most damaging and long-lasting effect is the self-hatred or lack of esteem for all black people. I can't even tell you how devastating it was for me to see that little girl in the most recent doll experiment when she was asked in the end which one looked like her. You could see the struggle and sadness in her face and the resignation when she finally, reluctantly pointed to the black doll. This is a direct result of segregation, white supremacist attitudes, and all the Jim Crow bullshit that goes along with it. So there's another quote by Henry Hyde, who was a past chairman of the House Judiciary Committee against reparations, and he said, quote, "The notion of collective guilt for what people did 200 plus years ago, that this generation should pay a debt for that generation, is an idea whose time has gone. I never owned a slave. I never oppressed anybody. I don't know what I should have to pay for someone else who did own slaves generations before I was born." Apparently he hasn't seen the doll experiment. One of the things that I learned about in the Black Manifesto was that the African American community or the black community worldwide believes that reparations are due to them from religious organizations. And I was kind of iffy on that until I found this quote from Deuteronomy. And if thy brother, a Hebrew man or woman, be sold unto thee, and serve thee 6 years, then in the 7th year thou shalt let him go free from thee. And when thou sendest him out free from thee, thou shalt not let him go away empty. Thou shalt furnish him liberally out of thy flock, and out of thy floor, and out of thy winepress. Of that wherewith the Lord thy God hath blessed thee, thou shalt give unto him. And thou shalt remember that thou wast a bondman in the land of Egypt, and the Lord thy God redeemed thee. Therefore I command this of thee today. I don't really agree with Deuteronomy, the same book of the Bible that says that homosexuality is such a bad thing. However, if you're in a religious organization and you're going to press this crap down my throat, then you need to stand by what you are quoting. So in conclusion, I just want to say that I believe reparations are due, long overdue. I don't think that it's even for me to try to decide how reparations should be paid. I don't think that I, as a white person, can ever begin to understand the true damage that's been done. I have a good idea, but I think that black people should get together and form committees and try to figure out how they should be paid and they should be used for, and that should be up to black people and black people alone. However, the U.S. government definitely owes reparations to not only the African American community, but the black community in general. Thanks for letting me share.